Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Nav Laji, and I'm here on behalf of the AVA, or the Asian Vape Association, to talk a little bit about e-cigarettes in Hong Kong. I think Ray and Dr. Farskilios have covered the regulatory side and the scientific side of e-cigarettes. So we're going to talk pretty much on the consumer side of what's been happening in Hong Kong and what we think should be happening in Hong Kong. Actually, I'd like to start with the popularity of e-cigarettes in Hong Kong, which have pretty much been on the rise since 2012, and with sales doubling, almost doubling in the past 2 years. And over the past couple of months, actually 2 months to be exact, our members and our association has been in close contact with a lot of end users for our products, just to get a better understanding of their consumption habits and their needs and demands, and just to better understand where they're coming from. And what we found was in 3 parts. Our research basically shows that most Hong Kong e-cigarette users, and this is a pattern that's repeated across Asia Pacific as well, that most e-cigarette users are using electronic cigarettes to reduce or completely cut their tobacco dependence. When asked why they chose e-cigarettes, is because they said because electronic cigarettes replicated the sensation of smoking a real cigarette, which a lot of people call inhaling and exhaling. This is something that they could not feel a lot of satisfaction out of conventional cessation technologies out there, like nicotine patches and chewing gums and lozenges. This suggests that the reason e-cigarettes are so popular is because they successfully provide smokers with a satisfying, hence realistic alternative to smoking conventional tobacco cigarettes. What this means is this translates into a higher success rate when trying electronic cigarettes. With e-cigarettes, consumers can not only satisfy their psychological need for cigarettes, but also their physiological need, which is nicotine, which brings me on to our next topic. A lot of people in Hong Kong a lot of consumers in Hong Kong have this complaint, because I think nicotine is something that's quite important in electronic cigarettes. It's what the user is using the delivery device for. But in Hong Kong, as a lot of you know, nicotine-containing electronic cigarettes are categorized as a pharmaceutical product. We don't know why or how, like Ray said, how they got there, but they're there. So hence, out of lack of choice, a lot of consumers are forced to pick up products which contain zero nicotine. Now, while this satisfies their psychological dependence, again, on the inhaling and exhaling of something that looks like smoke or vapor, it doesn't satisfy their physiological nicotine craving and addiction, means they eventually have to switch back to traditional tobacco cigarettes, which is something that we don't actually want in the industry. I think everybody else agrees. With that being said, we also discovered something that's quite interesting. The surprising fact is, like factasia just revealed in their recent survey, a lot of Hong Kong e-cigarette users are actually support and actually want their government to regulate e-cigarettes, and would consider purchasing or switching to electronic cigarettes if they were regulated effectively. What they do not want is for the government to completely ban e-cigarettes, because what that means is there's provided with a lack of choice, which means, again, they would have to switch back to a more harmful alternative, which is being conventional tobacco cigarettes. With that being said, the AVA believes that there are other consequences that will be caused by banning electronic cigarettes in Hong Kong. Number 1, fewer people would switch to a less harmful alternative. Number 2, as a result, more people will continue to consume tobacco products, hence affecting their health in long term. Number 3, some people, and we've seen this pattern all over the world, will continue to consume electronic cigarettes illegally, purchasing them off the black market, therefore not guaranteeing their effective and safety and quality standards. Number 4, the Hong Kong government will have to spend significant amount of time and resources enforcing these laws, such as quite unnecessary laws, such as the e-cigarette ban. And lastly, Hong Kong, which prides itself on being Asia's world city, will immediately alienate anybody who decides to come visit Hong Kong on a holiday or a tourist or a business trip. The minute they land in Hong Kong airport, they will be confiscated of their electronic cigarette or will be suggested not to use it, which is not very friendly from a world city point of view. So these are some points that we think will be a consequence of banning electronic cigarettes in Hong Kong altogether. Again, going back to regulations, we do understand that there's a need for regulations. I think everybody, regardless of what spectrum they're coming from, as Andrew mentioned, closed and open end, it's a very old debate. It's since the beginning of technology, it's been there. But I think what we can agree on is there is a definite and clear need for regulations in whatever form it may appear. With that being said, the AVA and its members in Hong Kong, a lot of who are here, and I want to thank them for coming, have been, well, following a set of guidelines we've established for the past couple of years. And the guidelines pretty much are in these 4 formats. Prohibiting the sale of electronic cigarettes to minors, obviously. Responsible advertising to adult users only. Responsible product labeling and manufacturing practices, and establishing manufacturing and quality test standards. This is something that we've seen all over the world, and this is something we think every consumer product should have as a base, otherwise it has no reason or has no excuse for existing. That pretty much concludes what's been happening in Hong Kong with electronic cigarettes. On a personal note, I would like to say something. For decades, we've been trying to eliminate the tobacco cigarettes from our society. I mean, our governments have tried to tax them, discourage smokers from using them, banning advertising, adding graphic warnings, and plain packaging. Yet, they still kill over 4 million people each year. It seems we're still in a society that can't find an answer to the tobacco epidemic. This new technology we're here to discuss today, for the first time, it seems to offer us the answer to this problem. But, like most great technologies, it seems to have early teething problems, a lot of new issues, which I believe, and I think a lot of people here believe as well, if we were to sit down and tease them out, I think it'd be for the benefit of everybody else. Cheers. That's it. Any questions?
Any questions from the floor for Nav?
All
or
right,
indeed
cheers.
any of us for the moment?
All right, enjoy your lunch.
I have one. Oh, yeah.
Yes, Ray.
Nav, how are you looking to educate the Hong Kong establishment as a association that obviously promotes the manufacturing of these products and obviously the legal distribution of these products? How are you going to push that product into the market and get those who want to participate with you to do it in a manner that's consistent with what you believe?
I think the number one concern with the government as well as the consumers is the regulations. And as Ray mentioned, I think everybody else on the board here agrees. If you're going to introduce a new product on the market, the absolute first step is to ensure that product is safe to consume and has safety standards implemented that way. So I think the first thing would be to categorize this product into seeing which category it falls under. And only after doing that will the government start and sit down and negotiate or be open to discussion and how to introduce this product into the Hong Kong market. So we're now considering and seeing how this product should be categorized. Currently it's categorized as a pharmaceutical product. Again, we don't know how it got there, but like we said, it is there. And we think it's wrongly there. So the first thing will be categorize it, and second will be start an open dialogue with the Hong Kong government and show them the facts and statistics, and with events like these today, to sit down and show them the science backing the argument that electronic cigarettes can be a benefit to Hong Kong society. So.
And I got one more question.
Sure.
Have you, in your time here in Hong Kong, talked with individuals that are obviously knowledgeable and are completely on a different page? Those who are currently fine with it potentially being a consumer product or something else? Have you seen that type of conversation?
Oh, definitely. I think most people, not most, but a lot of people we've spoken with definitely see this as a category that should exist as a consumer product. But again, it's still, I think electronic cigarettes in Hong Kong are still at the infancy stages. So it's a deeper debate is needed in what direction Dutch should go with. So, yes, sir.
If you guys are the Asia Association, is there anybody in Asia that's getting it right? Or it looks like they're headed in the right direction? Who's the gold standard?
That's a very good question, actually. I think the tricky thing about Asia, as opposed to the rest of the world, is it's very fragmented in its needs, fragmented in its policies and concerns. But we actually haven't seen anything in our region that we would like to replicate or actually follow or take lead of. For example, recently in South Korea, I believe it was last year, that electronic cigarettes were now categorized as tobacco product, and they're actually imported based on their nicotine content. Whereas in Thailand, they completely banned, so they're not, anything that looks like a cigarette is not allowed in the country, same like Singapore. So that's something that is a disadvantage to us as an association, because the whole entire area is quite fragmented. However, it's a great opportunity because Hong Kong, being Asia's world city, can definitely set a standard by leading the good cause, and then Hong Kong can be something to be replicated around the Southeast Asia region. But for now, what we're seeing is most of the policy making, most of the decisions, most of the anything to do with e-cigarettes appearing in the media are on hearsay, on misinformation, on emotion, and a lot of the regulations are pretty much follows suit by what the West is doing. So I would say in the grand scheme of things, in the bigger picture, Asia still has about a year or year and a half of catching up to do in comparison to the West.
FactAsia's own point of view would be that it might actually take rather longer than that, I'm afraid.
Maybe that's just my personal opinion, but maybe it could be longer, it could be shorter, you never know.
Well, we hope for the best, but what we've found certainly is that the picture across the Asia region in general, and I would include Australasia in that, is so fragmented that it's becoming quite a surprise that the lack of harmonization in terms of trade. Other consumer sectors are regulated on a more or less global basis now. Individual countries across Asia cannot decide for themselves how to deal with e-cigarettes. We've touched just a little bit on one or two of the reasons why the debate has been so muddied by Big Pharma and some other vested interests. Clearly, FactAsia believes that we really need to move forward with regulation on a sensible basis. Whether the EU regulation is perfect or not is not really a debate here. What is important is that consumers across Asia have quite clearly voted in favor of e-cigarettes, and they deserve the protection of consumer legislation as they would in any other sector.
If there's no more questions, I suggest we break for lunch. But once we've all got up, which is just outside the door, by the way, there's a buffet, you're going to help yourself. I think what we'll do, we'll continue the debate over lunch once people have actually started eating.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.